Welcome to Tales of a Wanderer, where the fog never lifts and history still bleeds in the dark. London, 1888. A city alive with fear and firelight. In the alleys of Whitechapel, something moved without a face, without a name, but with purpose. He watched, he waited, and when the night fell, he carved his legend into history. They called him Jack the Ripper.
London, the year 1888. The heart of the British Empire beats strong, but its lungs are filled with smoke. Steam rises from the Thames, carriages clatter through cobblestone streets, and the fog never seems to lift. It is an age of invention, of electricity, telegrams, and science, but also an age of shadows, where poverty and privilege share the same cold breath. In the East End, in a place called Whitechapel, life is cheap. The air stinks of coal and gin. The alleys crawl with rats, and hope is a rumor. Tenement buildings rise like tombstones, their windows cracked, their walls dripping with soot. Women walk the streets at night, not by choice, but by survival. They sell company for pennies and dream of warmth that never comes, and among them walks something far worse than hunger. It began quietly, a body found in the early morning in a narrow street called Buck's Row. The woman's name was Mary Ann Nichols. Polly, her friends called her. A mother once, a factory worker, a woman discarded by life and now by death. Her throat was cut twice, her abdomen torn open with impossible precision. No one in Whitechapel had seen wounds like it before. The newspapers called it an outrage. The police called it a mystery. But the people of London called it fear. Then came another, Annie Chapman, killed behind a small house in Hanbury Street. September 8th, 1888. Her throat slashed, her body mutilated, and something taken. Not jewelry, not money, but pieces of her carved away with surgical accuracy. The whispers spread faster than the fog. Was it a doctor? A butcher? A demon? The press gave him a name, Jack the Ripper, a name that would echo for centuries. Soon, letters began arriving at police stations, written in red ink, signed, "Yours truly, Jack the Ripper." The handwriting, manic, deliberate, the tone, taunting. I keep on hearing the police have caught me, but they won't fix me just yet. London devoured every word. Each letter became a headline, each murder a performance. Jack wasn't just killing people, he was killing peace. The city changed. People no longer looked each other in the eyes. Men avoided the alleys after dark. Women huddled together in corners, whispering prayers to saints who no longer answered. The fog felt thicker, the night longer, and behind it all, someone watched. No one saw him, no one heard him, but he was there, in the reflection of a wet cobblestone, in the flicker of a lamplight, in the trembling hands of the constable patrolling his beat. Jack the Ripper wasn't just a killer. He was a ghost given form, fear. He made a city question its own heart and reminded the world that evil doesn't always hide in the dark. Sometimes it is the dark, and as the body count rose, so did the obsession. Doctors, detectives, journalists, all searching for a face, a reason, a name. But what they would find was only the beginning. The killings continued, and so did the silence. No one saw the man who did it. No one ever heard his footsteps fade into the mist. But his shadow, was everywhere. Every corner, every whisper, every flicker of lamplight that made a man's heart race. The police called him the Whitechapel murderer, but the newspapers gave him something far more dangerous, a legend, a name that would live long after the blood was gone. Jack the Ripper. It began with a letter, written in bright red ink and addressed simply, "Dear Boss, I keep on hearing the police have caught me, but they won't fix me just yet. I love my work, and I want to start again." He signed it, "Yours truly, Jack the Ripper." And beneath it, a small mark, a devilish flourish, drawn like a smile. When that letter reached the press, London changed overnight. The story exploded through the streets like fire through gaslight. People crowded around newspaper stands, reading, whispering, shaking. Every man in a black coat became a suspect. Every butcher's knife, a symbol of death. Fear was no longer an emotion. It was the air people breathed. The next letter came with a package, a small cardboard box. Inside it, half a human kidney, preserved in wine. The note read, "From hell. I send you half the kidney I took from one woman. Catch me when you can." It was signed with no name, only a chilling flourish. "Catch me when you can, Mr. Lusk." George Lusk, chairman of the Whitechapel Vigilance Committee, a man who had been hunting the Ripper himself. Now the hunter was being watched. Scotland Yard flooded the streets with constables. Detectives from every district walked the alleys with lanterns and eyes that had forgotten how to blink. They questioned hundreds, doctors, barbers, sailors, priests. Some were arrested, none were charged. The killer was a ghost, one step ahead, one shadow deeper, and in that darkness, London began to fracture. The rich blamed the poor blamed the police, and the police blamed the fog. Each new murder felt like a message, a challenge carved into flesh. Jack the Ripper wasn't just killing women. He was tearing a hole in the illusion of safety. Every night, the people of Whitechapel went to sleep, wondering if the Ripper's blade would whisper to them next. For weeks, the city held its breath. Constables patrolled with trembling hands. Journalists wrote with shaking pens, and Jack watched from somewhere in the mist. The killings stopped as suddenly as they began. No one knew why. No one ever saw him again. But what he left behind would haunt the world forever. He was more than a man. He was a question with no answer, a story that never found its ending. And yet, some claim to know the truth. A doctor, a prince, a painter, a policeman, each theory more tangled than the fog itself. But who was Jack the Ripper? A monster born of London's darkness, or London's darkness itself? In the end, the only thing left behind was the silence between screams.
Jack the Ripper was never caught. No face, no fingerprints, no justice. Only stories, letters, and a city forever haunted by what walked among them. Perhaps he died. Perhaps he vanished. Or perhaps he simply changed his name and kept walking through history. What began as murder became legend. And what hides behind that legend is something darker than any man. Fear itself. This was Tales of a Wanderer, where curiosity meets consequence, and the unknown never sleeps.